Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new devlog and a new year. In the case that you are new here, this is a series that follows my work on my first solo game development project, where I try to document everything regarding making the game and all the things that are needed to be done around it. Last episode was about a lot of the mechanics being added to the game, so if you've not seen it, feel free to jump over and have a look. This episode will focus on content, even more content, and some admin work that's needed to keep the work going smoothly. There'll be everything from 3D work talk around modeling and creating tile sets, level design and blocking out the map, some VFX and post-processing issues that really needs to be resolved soon, and then finally chatting a bit more about version control and GitHub, leaving Trello behind, and finally some future ideas for the Steam store and possibly looking at some key dates for the game. Lastly, if you want to keep extra up to date on what is happening and join a great growing community, please check out the Pixel Perfect Discord server. I'll leave a link for it below. The first thing we'll start with is all the content that's been added to the game since last. As I said previously, my first goal is to create the first wing of the research station and bring it up to a almost release ready state, so that I have a vertical slice of the game ready for future testing and to use for things like marketing or demos, and also to have set a quality bar to where the rest of the game needs to hit to be considered done. I'm hard at work trying to reach that goal right now, with a few things done and a bunch of things left, so let's start with what is done first. I've planned out the entire map layout and the gameplay flow for the first wing now, so I know what I want and how things should work, which has been a really big morale boost compared to when there were a lot more question marks on what I was actually working towards. The first wing of the station will be kind of the living quarters for the staff. For now, I've almost finished up the first floor, which will be the food court, work and socializing areas. Then there will be a floor below used for activities and maintenance, and the second floor will be the living area that is currently in a semi-failed lockdown state when the player gets there. Since this is right at the start of the game, this is where the player gets to explore and try to understand what has happened to the station, and we'll also start seeing that something is very wrong with the station as a whole and themselves. I've been looking closer at some games and videos of the liminal spaces genre when working on this and trying to get some more inspiration, as it kind of fits in for where you are. But I'm still trying to figure out more about it right now, but it's definitely leaning in towards that feeling for the area. I've also created some basic tile sets for the models, like walls, floors, doors, lights, etc., which has let me pretty quickly now roughly block out the first floor of the wing, with more of the important areas at least. I've also started work on some room modules, which are pretty much different rooms that can be used in several different areas. I noticed when trying to build a lot more of the level with the modular tile sets I made that everything became very samey and not really interesting. So I figured that the room modules would still allow me to reuse some of the work I'll do, but with some different interiors it could be different enough to not feel repetitive to players. Since I'm making all the models by myself, it does take some time to get somewhere, so I hope that this way will work out. And if you have any ideas on how you think hiding repetition could be done, please let me know in the comments. So with all the 3D modeling being done, I also needed a bunch of new textures, both for the unique models, but also a lot of tiling textures are needed. The unique texturing I almost only do in Substance Painter right now, since it goes really fast, I know how to do it and I get a good result from it. But it's not the best program to use when making tiling textures. And unfortunately, I'm not good enough in Substance Designer to use that fully yet. So instead, I've started learning Photoshop better to create textures from scratch or based on images. And it's been really fun to learn more about, and a lot of the textures have come out great as well, which I'm really happy about. Lastly, I've been having a look at the overall look of the game, both in relation to the post-processing effects used and what rendering options I use for the game, and I've started to dislike the effects I've been using, as they're not giving me the result I'm looking for, and I'm not really technically knowledgeable enough to sit down and create more advanced versions of the effects either. I'll experiment a bit more with how I want the game to look, but I'm also looking into the possibility of getting a post-processing pack for retro-style graphics that has pretty much everything I need straight out of the box, and seems to be very modern. So that might be something I'll try out soon as well. Even though I'm not the best at the more technical aspects like coding, I have started to try and learn a bit more about it thanks to this video sponsor, Brilliant. So what exactly is Brilliant, I hear you ask? Well, Brilliant is the place where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming and AI. We all have a bunch of habits we follow each day, whether they're good or bad, and I think a great way to start 2025 is to focus on building better habits each day. So for me, I've started to use Brilliant to learn programming a bit more when I have some time off in the mornings. Instead of the regular mindless scrolling, I use those minutes to go through some daily challenges instead. Brilliant has a wide range of interesting topics to learn about, with everything from how large language models work to math problem solving, and as I mentioned, I've just started looking closer at the programming courses to start getting a more solid foundation to work from. You get the chance to become more familiar with Python and learn the essential coding elements like from loops and variables to nesting and conditionals, all while developing your mind to think like a programmer and start writing complex programs to build apps and games. So if you enjoy learning and want to try out a proven and effective way to build knowledge in a bunch of different subjects, then why not test it out for yourself for free for 30 days by visiting brilliant.org/pixelperfect or using the link in the description below. You can also get an awesome 20% discount on the annual premium subscription. Now, leaving what is done in the game and moving over to what is being done outside of the game, there are a few updates to go over there as well. The first one is in relation to the overall project planning. At the start of this project, I mentioned that I was working in Trello to set up a Kanban board for my work tasks and to keep track of bugs and things like that. Now, I made this choice since it reminded me the most of working in Jira that I'm quite used to from my day job, so I just assumed it would be the most natural and effective way to work by default. But I've noticed that when working by myself, I was a lot more agile, or maybe just more chaotic in my work, and bounced around quite a lot between tasks based on what was just needed, which kind of left the Trello board outdated, and it started to feel more like a hindrance when I had to go back and update it. I also had a lot of documentation and things in Google Drive at the same time, which did not work that great together, so I made the decision to jump over and try out Notion instead, and so far it's been working really good. Actually being able to collect all the documentation I have with my tasks and whatnot has been great. And I'll keep working a bit more on it to see if something I'll stick with, but so far it's been great since I have everything in one place. I can have my design documents linked with tasks to do or bugs that are blocking progress, so it seems like a good tool to have. The last admin thing on the list is that I have now set up a proper version control for the project, and I'm using GitHub currently to set everything up. If you are making a game, I would highly recommend setting up some proper version control and uploading the project somewhere for safety. It's great to have if something happens with your local machine, then you can always access your project files anyway. But also, if something that you can't fix breaks, you can always revert to a previous version and start working from there instead. You can also, as I will soon, set up branches as well. Now, I'm more used to how Perforce works than GitHub, so I'm still learning how everything functions, but the plan is to do my daily syncs on a main branch that will be unversioned and always have the most up-to-date build of the project. And then at set intervals, I will upload the main build to a staging branch that will act as the last most stable versioned build, and is great to have for testing purposes where no new content is being added outside of the verified bug fixes. And then possibly also later down the line adding a production branch that only has the tested finalized staging builds on it, and that's used for upcoming releases and things like that. Now, it might sound like a lot of convoluted work to do it this way, but it can be a real lifesaver to split your versions up like this and keep track of what is being added to where, and always having a release-ready build and a work-in-progress build separated. Lastly, let's go through what the next steps are going forward as well, and what I want to add to the project next. Of course, the main thing that will be worked on is the continued work on the first wing vertical slice, since that's the main goal to complete first. Most pressing of the work on that right now is to build out all the floors, get the logic set up so that the player can progress from the start to the end at least, even if it's just going between points of interest or something like that. After that, I want the first and possibly second enemy of the game into the level. I already have one as a placeholder in a test level that just needs a little bit more work on it, and then the second one I'm pretty much just still prototyping in my head for now. But I hope to have that completed in not too long of a time. And then it will be on to more content creation to fill out the map and make it look and work as good as I can. Other than that, I also want to start setting up a Steam store page for the game soonish. I'll most likely try to make a video in regards to that and explain how to do it, but I want to work a bit more on a name for the game before then. I have a handful that I like, but I'm not 100% sure on anything yet. If there are any suggestions though for a name, feel free to leave them in the comments or join the Discord channel and let me know there. I've had some questions also if the project will be in the upcoming Steam Next Fest, But since that's right around the corner and there's a few days left to submission, I won't have the time to join that one. However, the next one in the summer might be a better bet. But that is everything from me at this time. I want to thank you all again for commenting and liking the videos, and to everyone who has subscribed so far, a big thank you. It's such a great morale boost to see everyone enjoying the content. So thank you again, and have a great rest of the day.